Hi, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is your friend Ursie. And today on the playground, I wanted to have a second conversation about this amazing fixed star in the Virgo constellation called Spica. Now, I got inspired to do this part two, namely because I read your comments and thank you for subscribing to the channel. But I really do take to heart and I trust the guidance that comes in sometimes, like, oh, does that feel like fun? If so, why don't I just start pulling some threads together? So, the fixed star Spica, if you take a peek on the playlist and you missed my first little mini chat about this amazing fixed star, go back and take a look. But the second chat is going to go a little deeper. Why? Well, there's something to this star that is calling me forward as well. So, as I mentioned before, there are 4 royal Persian stars that are holding the heavens together. They're major coordinate points that hold north, south, east, west. So, those are the 4 royal Persian stars of Regulus, Antares, Aldebaran, and Fomalhaut. But when you start doing some research on some of these other fixed stars, it's like, wow, Spica would be in 5th place. Oop, there you go, 5th place. Here we go. Yep. And so here's the thing. I went deeper into a fabulous researcher, author, writer. She's someone that Julia Balaz highly recommends in the book list that we're given in our Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioners class list. So the woman's name is Bernadette Brady. She is remarkable, one of the premier global speakers on fixed stars. What I like about Bernadette is that she talks about this idea of remembering our enchantment with the heavens, and realizing that we are communing in this quantum, beautiful cosmic soup together, that we're not separate, that we're all part of this incredible, enchanting heaven. And so, what she does is she puts the stars back into astrology, and it's been her life work. I think she's based in the United Kingdom, but I wanted to share my screen with you in case you're wondering, who is Ursula talking about? Here she is. Here's just a few of the books that Bernadette Brady has written. Astrology, A Place in Chaos. This is a fundamental book, Brady's Book of Fixed Stars. Okay, and then Star and Planet Combination. So I have the second and third book that's listed here. Then she gets into predictive astrology. And then let's see, this last one is Cosmos, Chaosmos, and Astrology. So a real deep thinker into our place within the heavens. And so some of you might be wondering, what the heck is a fixed star? So when you think of astrology, our Earth is on its own axis. And so we're kind of in a rotation. But while we're rotating, we're also going around the sun. And the planets that go around the sun move with us on various orbits, but those are moving. But from Earth, as we look into the heavens, there are stars that appear to stay in place or fixed. Now, in science, we realize that nothing ever stays exactly in place, that there is slight movement, but we're basing everything from our earthly position looking out and up into the heavens. Okay, so when I picked up Bernadette's book, Fixed Stars, I went and looked for her commentary on the fixed star Spica. So if you don't mind, let me go ahead and read to you what she says. Seen as the wheat sheaf in the hand of the goddess, Spica was considered a symbol of her gifts to humankind. So here is Virgo, the winged one, giving gifts to humanity. The wheat sheaf therefore symbolized human knowledge of cultivation, a gift from the goddess. So back in the day, wheat symbolized this is how advanced our society is. We've gone from hunters to gatherers, and the wheat was the symbol that she held in her hand, Virgo. And today, as Bernadette continues forward, it's therefore connected with any particular field or profession, but it's a star that shows the potential for brilliance. This is why visiting Julia Balaz's online calculator, galacticastrochart.com, you get to see, do I have the star engaged or activated somewhere in my chart? SPICA. Okay, she goes on though, and she mentions that if Virgo in the constellation in 2022, what would she be holding and handing to you with this activation may not be a thing of wheat. Instead, it could be a silicon chip. Here is the gift from the goddess. Think of what this age of information is gifting you with. Okay, but then here she went on, and this is where I'm going to segue. She said, Sir Isaac Newton, the great physicist and creator of calculus, was born at the moment that Spica was rising. So at the ascendant for Sir Isaac Newton. In this position, if you have Spica on your ascendant, the brilliance of the star will affect your whole chart and your whole life. For Isaac Newton, it represented how he was seen, right? Your ascendant is how other people see you. It's also part of the definition of who he was. And then she starts commenting about the Egyptians. They would say that because of that part of Spica being at his ascendant, that the goddess, that you belong to her. It's that kind of a merged energy, right? That he was actually Newton, an embodiment of the star Spica. Many people are born with the star in that position and obviously do not have all the scientific mind of Sir Isaac Newton. But having a star in that position does not guarantee success. But according to Bernadette, it does indicate the possibility. So if you are a grandparent or a parent, or you're a great neighbor, or you have kids, and you want to check out how to guide and bring greater clarity to a young person, my goodness, wouldn't it be amazing to tell Junior, like, hey, you were born with this energy available to you? It reminds me of the story of the famous artist Picasso. From the minute Pablo Picasso was born, his mother just said, you are amazing, you're a king, you're the center of the world. So Picasso was raised in that energy, right? His mother was kind of like shining this light on the young Picasso. And then the rest was set in motion for history. He believed it, he felt it, he acknowledged it, that he really was the king of his destiny. So when I think of that story, and then Bernadette Brady talking about Sir Isaac Newton and at his ascendant, how other people saw him and the potential for greatness. And it comes with, yes, isn't that exciting? But it also, I'm sure, comes with its other challenges, because you radiate that brightness, you're going to attract the greater your light, you're going to attract the greatest dark as well to match you, right? So here's where I'm going to pause and I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. Okay, so I'm back. Here I am flapping my angel wings, and I'm right next to a picture of Spica on the ascendant. So imagine this beautiful star guiding your ship in this lifetime, like it did with Isaac Newton. I put a little picture over here of Urania's mirror. So this is the image of Virgo, the constellation, and my big red circle next to her wheat shows where Spica is in the constellation. Okay, again, if you wanted to see the first little chit chat about Spica, you can see the earlier one, or the earlier playlist or the video that I did. I'm trying to keep these nice and short, but Gotta love Isaac Newton, right? What do we know about him? Well, he was English. All right. But look at everything: mathematician, physicist, astronomer. I like the word alchemist, theologian, and author. Described in his time as a natural philosopher. So when I see that, I go, ooh, let's see what house 9 or Sagittarius has in his natal chart. But he is widely recognized as one of the greatest mathematicians and physicists of all time. Even though today we may go beyond Newtonian physics, you have to look at what a pivotal impact he had in his time. So, also, which I didn't know when I did some research, he was actually one of the key figures in the philosophical revolution known as the Enlightenment. Isn't that exciting? His birth date was in the year 1643. And even though he had a really tough birth, he lived to be 84 years old, which is pretty old back in the day, right? 1643. So here I am doing a little fun video. Here we see above, we have the fixed star Spica again. Then I'm going to move out of the way. Here is what the gift of the goddess did for Newton's amazing contribution. He wrote books and books. And here's one that I found on the principles of math. But it's the philosophy and principles. Don't you love the old books? Okay. Now, here's an image of, and it's really blown up big, of Sir Isaac Newton's birth chart, the natal chart. Now, I got to say, back in the 1600s, they were a little sketchy on the birth time. Oftentimes, they didn't write it down. However, when I did the research, this time showed up to be the one that was most consistent. So when I plugged it into my program, here we see in the big round red circle at the ascendant, which is AC, he's got an ascendant in Libra, but here is Spica. You can see that number 1. Wish you could see my little arrow here, but Spica is conjunct the ascendant. Look at that. Just amazing. And remember when I said that thing about the house 9? I wonder how the philosopher would show up. Well, his moon is sitting next to a planet called Eris, which is about revolution and not dealing with the common times of your day, but to seek something that's different. And anyway, it's his moon that's important here. His moon in Cancer, feeling very much at home with finding the higher truths, of seeking bigger wisdom, of really trying to understand what makes it all work together. But I'm just showing you, when you do your own astrological natal chart with your birth time, you can find which fixed star has guided your ship. And so here it is. And let me show you the next quick slide. Isaac Newton. Had to love some of these pictures, right? Now, something that I just did not know until I went into the Encyclopedia Britannica, you kind of wonder, Ursula, you are double Virgo. Yes, I like the details, but I like the bigger story as we drill down on how this fixed star has shown up in this particular man's life. Okay, you can see him here working with a prism. He helped discover the early color theory. So you can see where light goes within a prism and then is refracted, and you get the various colors of the rainbow through that glass prism. But beneath that image right here is a telescope. Yes, Isaac Newton was so incredibly like one of the geniuses of his time, created this idea of not just about color theory and philosophy and mathematics, but he was looking into the heavens. Didn't you know? So thank you, Bernadette Brady, for pointing this out. All right, so we mostly know the man about the apple falling from the tree when he was trying to figure something out. And the moral of that story of Sir Isaac Newton trying to figure, I have this big question, and how am I going to figure out things? Resting and sleeping under a tree, the apple hits him on the head, and this is the fairy tale, right? And then he gets the answer, aha. But sometimes when we're so our mind is trying to find the answers so directly, it takes this idea of how about just resting and asking for assistance or just getting yourself to that 0 point and allowing the answer to come through. Well, you can say what you want about Newtonian physics. I know there's controversy and we are shifting now into this other way of seeing ourselves in the world. But one of the biggest lessons that Newton gave to us was this idea of underscoring that, everything does not evolve around the earth. Okay. That was the early days. People in Aristotelian thought that everything evolved around me on Earth, very much like that. And so Newton helped remind and find the proof that no, it's very much like Galileo just said, because Newton followed Galileo. And it's like, no, we really have this travel around the sun, Helios, traveling around the sun instead of the Earth, everything going around us. And I don't want to talk to anyone talking about is the Earth flat? So, or I should just say, there's all these theories. Okay. But here's what you may not know about Sir Isaac Newton. Yes, it's wonderful he had this star, the goddess gifted him, but he did not begin with all the love and support that Picasso did. Not at all. In fact, his father died before he was born, okay, or just shortly after his birth. His mother remarries, and then her second marriage, the stepfather, who was a minister, sent young Isaac away to live with a grandmother. And so this break from not only you never knowing really his father, but the break from his mother put him, according to some of the research, into these psychotic episodes and anger. So you don't really think of a mathematician, a physicist, someone who really studies as having that anger issue. But well, it's kind of written there in a lot of the history on Newton. So here he was. And then he wanted to keep going in school, but when his stepfather dies, then Newton's mom said, "Hey, son, I want you back living with me. Come on home so you can run the family business," because it's a big business, watch, I don't know, the cows. And Newton was just like, it wasn't a good match for him or his mom. So she sent him back off to school. So he joined school, but he's older than his peers, right? He's older because he had to have this bypass into helping his mom. Mother complex. Got to look at that moon again. So he comes late and he goes to university, and I believe he went to Cambridge for college. And, he's just writing things down in his journals. He's like the quiet guy that seems a little odd, but he's writing things, and he really never came forward, as I understand the story, until later with this deep thinking. So here you go. If you told him, hey, you've got this fixed star Spica on your ascendant, how would that have changed his life at the early days? One wonders. But he's so pivotal in just some of the things that we take for granted in the modern age. Here's a painting that one of my favorite artists, William Blake, also English, British, he did a painting that resembles Newton. So you can see the man with his Greek loincloth, with his trying to sort through and look at the mathematics and how is the world constructed. So there you go, Spica and Newton. My goodness. So here we are back to Bernadette Brady. What she's really saying to us is, we are way more than we can imagine, but it really does start with a choice to start thinking, if I am more than just this earth-focused being, if I really am part of the cosmos, then which gifts, let's say, which energies, which metaphoric energies was I born with that might help inform my journey today, wherever you are on your journey? If you're young, if you're middle-aged, if you're an elder, doesn't matter. I think each of us knowing how to guide our ship is critical and key. So fixed star Spica. Let me share again. If you like meditating or just want to say a little sit and and bring that energy in, whether you have this in your chart or not. October 16th in the Northern Hemisphere is a great time during the day. And then April 16th, meditating with fixed star Spica, April 16th in the evening. Well, didn't you love Isaac Newton? I think I'm going to go eat some applesauce. But I just got to say, what a life. You'd have no idea. So behind the fame, behind the notoriety was really this idea of, trying to sort things out with his own identity based on the mother issue of sending him to go live with the grandmother and feeling abandoned. Okay, so with that energy and that trauma, tuning it in to who he was and what he loved. So if you are helping to guide a young person, taking any drama, trauma, anything that might have been really, really rough, because it is really rough for so many, how do you take that energy and transmute it for good? One place could be to start by looking at the galacticastrochart.com free online calculator, just to get a sense of, hey, who's here to play with me? And this is a great book. You can get it on Amazon, Brady's Book of Fixed Stars. What I like is she gives us the stories, and with the stories, you can pick up on the energies. I mean, it is chock full. Okay. Oh, and lastly, because it's at the ascendant, if you have this fixed star at one of the key angles, which is your ascendant, your midheaven, your descendant, or your IC or nadir, so the front or the back, the very top of the heaven or the bottom of the heaven, those are very activated points. So go check out your chart and see again if you have any of those placements with fixed star Spica. Okay, sharing these tools so that each of us can try and navigate in these amazing new earth energies. Why? To help us all lighten up. Take care, and we'll see you next time on the Ascension Playground.